I don't know if anybody's there. Hello, are we live? Yes, there we go. We should be live. Hello, everybody. Hope everyone is doing well today. Welcome, welcome, welcome to Speaker Spotlight. For those I have not met before, my name is Lori. I am a business and personal brand success coach who helps freedom loving coaches, consultants, and strategists to grow and scale sustainable, location independent businesses and personal brands that support them long term in their goals so they can live that life that they want on their terms. And today I am joined by Laura. With over 11 certifications, Laura uses her oh my gosh, you know what I'm trying to say there, guys, skills to connect with the audience and her clients to share a pathway forward, working in alignment with their dreams and desires. Laura's passion and energy empowers people to break free from their mental programming to become the creator of their life. Welcome, Laura.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
So to start out, I always like to hear a little bit about everybody's story. You know, what brought you to this world? Like, what brought you into entrepreneurship, into coaching? Like, what's your story?
So my story started when I was 6 years old, and that is because that's when I broke my first bone. I started my whole career as a personal trainer, and that was largely because I was very overweight as a kid, and I broke 9 bones throughout my athletic career, and
Wow.
I knew that that was probably not going to set me up for success. So I wanted to understand like how to take care of my body, and I had body image issues because I was an obese kid. So I wanted to understand that. And as I got more involved in my personal training career, I boycotted nutrition for like 5 years because I didn't want to eat differently. But eventually I realized the importance of it. And I'm really grateful that I did because it really it completely changed my entire career. Like I would say until that time, I felt like it was a job and then it became like a career because I started to see like
Mhm.
insane success with my clients, myself included, in my ability to just like fuel myself. And slowly and surely, like that's kind of when I started coaching, but I didn't know coaching was a profession at that
I
point.
think a
But
lot of coaches say the same thing.
yeah, and then my husband introduced me to podcasts a few years later, and I listened to a podcast from a mindset coach, and I like started Googling because after my nutrition certifications, like I like felt the itch that there was something else. Like I
Mhm.
looked into being a dietitian, a nutrition specialist, functional medicine doctor. Like I didn't know what it was. And my entire life, I was always fascinated with the brain. And my dad owns 2 businesses, so I was always intrigued. And technically, I was actually supposed to
Mhm.
take his company over, but the rebel in me decided to take her own path.
Oh my God.
I know. Um, and then after finding that podcast, I looked into coaching, and it was like it hit me, like that itch to find something else went away. Like I had found it. Um, I had one conversation with one of the company that I got certified through. They're actually the ones who told me you've probably already been coaching. You just didn't know you were. And
Mhm.
I became a coach, and the rest is kind of history. Yeah.
Love it, love it, love it. So it sounds like even before you got into coaching, in the personal training world, you were already working for yourself, right?
Pretty
Or were you
much.
working for
Like
someone else? Yeah.
I worked at a gym, but it was very independent. Like the only time that they ever like kind of hunted you, so to speak, is if you weren't hitting your numbers. And I'm a natural overachiever, so I was always overachieving my numbers.
Typical
So it
entrepreneur.
really, yeah, it really did feel like I was my own boss. I kept my own hours. There was no one who really told me what I could or couldn't do most of the time. I just had to follow like the basic, regulations of the gym. But yeah, so I kind of had that within my blood to begin with, and that kind of started things. Um, but it definitely was a different journey taking a step outside of the gym because
Mhm.
my world turned virtual like everybody else's. And
Mhm.
as a trainer, I was very hands-on, very in person. And
Uh-huh.
I thrive in person. Like I've always been told I have a impact when I'm in person with people. So it made me like really insecure about how to get clients and that stuff. And, you just had to kind of figure it out.
So why mindset? So we can transition into that. Like, what about mindset and coaching? And I also want to just say, anybody who's watching at any point, if you have questions, comments, please share in the comments there. So why?
Mindset. I think it was always like my passion without me knowing it was my passion. I started to really get deeper into a lot of my learning, and a lot of dots were being connected about the impact of the mind. But what really sold me was one of my clients. It was a client I'd worked with for like 7 or 8 years. She was a CEO of her own company, and she would never work out on her own. She could only work out with me. And I came to work listening to one of the podcast episodes, and I was just telling her like my take on it. And we had a nice conversation as I trained her. And then the next week she came back and she'd worked out twice on her own, like first time in 8 years. And I was like I was like superstitious. What happened? But I didn't want to jinx it, so I didn't even say anything to her. And the next week, same thing. She was working on her own. Next week, same thing. And I'm just like, okay, I told myself like I'm gonna give it a month, and then I'm gonna be like, what the hell happened? And so I gave it a month, and I asked her, and she said it was the conversation I had with her about mindset. And I was like, this is someone who like I love that client too, and she still works with me now as not only in personal training, but I coach her. But to see the impact, that's really why like I like helping people. That's why I do what I do. And I enjoyed helping people lose weight, but a lot of people were stuck in the I'm fat mindset where you can lose all the weight in the world and it's still never enough. Your mind and your mental map is still like hooked on the I'm fat mindset. So as a reformed people pleaser, it felt like I wasn't doing my job because, I would help them lose the 20, 30 pounds that they'd want to. And they'd tell me they'd be confident and happy when they got there, but they were never that. And so like, I knew I did my job, but it still felt a little dissatisfying. And at the end of the day, I wanted people to get what they actually wanted, and can't do that without the mind.
No, it's true. Like as a business coach, same thing. Well, ironically, when I got into coaching, I actually thought I wanted to do mindset coaching, but then I got more into the business side of things. But even as a business coach, mindset has to come into that process, right? Like it has to be part of it, because when people don't realize the connection between the mindset and your actual success, like your success rides on your mindset and the way you think and the way you talk to yourself. So if you can't control that, you're never going to get results, whether it's losing weight, whether it's building a successful business, whatever it is in your life. Yeah, absolutely. So
yeah, and we all have a mindset. It's just a matter of, is your mindset running you, or are you running your mindset?
Exactly. So I want to dive a little deeper into that, because I think that comes into the whole topic around self-care and taking care of yourself, right? And the mindset of that. So tell me a little bit about mindset when it comes to that self-care piece.
So just to be on the same page, like when I think of mindset, I think of like our mental programming that was established mainly by the age of 8. That's kind of made like subtle shifts as we've gotten older, but ultimately like 90 to 95% of our thoughts are still very programmed, and only 5% new. So it's the repetitive nature of what we believe to be true about ourselves, others in the world. And when it comes to self-care, especially as an entrepreneur, one of the key messages you hear about being an entrepreneur is it takes hard work. Like you got to work your ass off. And if you're not sacrificing something, or if you're not being successful, like you're not working hard enough. Like that's the message we hear from culture and society about what it's like to be an entrepreneur. And I don't necessarily I agree it takes hard work. I don't think it has to take work at a sacrifice of to yourself. I think there's a balance. Um, but I heard the same messages as everyone else. So when I first started coaching, even with all the health background, I even had to check my mindset because certain habits that I'd done my entire life, like working out. I used to work out, well, I work out 5 to 6 days a week. At that time, I was lucky to get 2 in, and that's just like my mental stability is aligned with my workout. So
Yeah.
the pressure of the work, was really impacting me. And I work with a coach, and I'm sure you know that. It's like if you're a coach, you should have a coach because otherwise you limit everyone's
Coaches
growth.
need coaches.
Of course.
Yes, I think I have 2 of them actually right now.
Yeah. But my coach asked me a really good question, and it was about time. And it was ultimately like, when is it going to be a good time for you to not bust your ass, ultimately? And I realized like there's never going to be a good time for that. And she's like, okay, well, is this how you want to experience it then? I was like, no. And then she asked that question that you hate, but because you know the answer. Well, what do you think needs to change? Me, I need to change. I know it. I get it. But like, she was right. And I had to let go of that like fictitious timeline that I'd made up of when things needed to happen by so that I could get there. And as
Ooh,
I did
that's a big topic.
that, get there, wherever there is, and there keeps moving, right? But
Exactly.
as I witnessed it in my in being an entrepreneur, I witnessed it with people, with their families, with their jobs, with social lives, with COVID, how they put their needs, their care at the bottom. And it's because we like have this belief that it's either I can care for them or I can care for me, or I can work and have a successful business, or I can take care of myself. Who actually said it has to be one or the other? Why can't we actually have both? We can. We're just believing a false narrative. And that's really where self-care comes in. Like, I'm sure people have heard the whole, put your own oxygen mask on first, right? You get
Yeah,
that on
exactly.
plane.
I love this example. I use it a lot too.
But it's so logical. Like, okay, why do we have to put our oxygen mask on first? Because they're not saying you can't help anybody else once your mask is on. They're
Right.
saying put yours on so you can help versus don't put yours on, pass out, and don't help anyone else. And now someone else actually needs to come and help you. Ultimately, you're
Exactly.
becoming a liability versus helping. It's the
Yeah.
same thing in our daily life, though, whether it's with being an entrepreneur, being a parent, being a friend, you name it. Like when you aren't taking care of yourself, you're being a liability to the elements in your life because you can't perform at your best. You can't show up as your strongest self. And, one of the unfortunate greatest obstacles is people don't believe in themselves or believe that they deserve it. They feel like they have
Yeah.
to earn the right to care for themselves, not understanding it's not something we earn. It's actually a foundation of what gets us, quote unquote, there, right?
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, what changed like in me at the beginning of this journey, like it's everything in your life changes and I don't think that a lot of people recognize like that those things all have to happen in order to reach whatever success
Yeah,
looks like for you, whether it's in your health, in your profession, whatever it is.
100%. And like letting go of certain beliefs and just kind of restructuring what that success model looks like. We're all chasing comfort, and comfort looks different for everybody. So
Yes,
success
yes,
for some
yes.
people might be 6 figures, some success for other people might be 7 figures, and they're just chasing it until they reach what their body or brain or mind is telling them is perceived comfort. But at what cost?
Yeah,
Like,
and
who said there has to be a cost to begin with?
yeah, and like what you said earlier, like I don't know what your exact words were, but it always changes too. So it's like once you actually reach that, then you find a reason to not just be okay with what you like, be proud of what you've done. Then it's about the next thing. Like I've found myself doing this. I think back in like 7 years ago, me like if saw me right now, like I would be freaking ecstatic. But now I'm here and I still do it, where we compare ourselves about like to other people or where we feel like we should be. But it's just like, but why? This is exactly where I wanted to be a few years ago. I'm here, but now it's not good enough, and now I can't. Yeah,
Well,
it's
that's the problem. It's
yeah.
the limiting belief of not enough. It's a mirage, the limbo bar that just keeps moving every time you get there.
Mm-hmm,
And
mm-hmm,
the hard part is breaking the addictive pattern your body has to it. So, every thought we have releases a chemical to create a matching feeling in our body. And then our feelings release energy that stimulate the release of hormones. And our hormones get addicted to a homeostatic balance. Anytime we try
mm-hmm.
to change that, our body will release an alternative hormone to make us feel physically uncomfortable, to then make us think something uncomfortable and provoke an action. So as overachievers, as so many of us are, when we
Mm-hmm.
don't have something we're overachieving towards, like, okay, we got there. That's a huge change to our physiology, and our body literally bucks back at us and makes us move the bar. So we keep chasing and chasing and chasing. And then we look back like, wait, where'd it go? I got here and I didn't even get to enjoy it. And
Uh-huh.
I mean, it's a fun game for me to like help my clients see it and help them redefine it and like work with like the chemistry of our body, the physiology, the neuroception of it all to like really change the experience so that when you do get there, you
Mm-hmm.
can be at peace. Like, okay, maybe you're there for a year, maybe you're there for 10 years, and then life adapts and you might adapt with it. And
Right.
it's okay to still want more, but it doesn't mean you need it. It's a being okay being seen by yourself and achieving that to begin with.
Yeah, absolutely. And just like realizing that you've reached some goal, like you've reached your goal, like too, and recognizing that and allowing for that to happen and to be okay with just that. A lot of people I feel
Yeah.
like skip that, right?
Yeah.
Oh, so what are some of the patterns that you see uh, as an expert in this area, so that people should be looking out for?
Um, okay, so I'll summarize it in kind of two categories.
Yeah.
One is the narratives of others. So, we
Mm-hmm.
live in a culture that doesn't say, I'm feeling intimidated. They say you are intimidating. Or we don't go and be like, oh, I'm feeling overwhelmed. We say you're too much. So we blame others based on our feelings. But
Mm-hmm.
because we don't really have a strong awareness of ourselves, we accept those stories as truth. In a weird way, we like give others authority of, oh, they said we're too much. They say that's not enough.
Mm-hmm.
So then we keep chasing it. And like those are some of the like being too much and not enough are two of the biggest issues because they're sourced in our self-worth, which
Mm-hmm.
we somehow believe is something we need to earn. So we try to prove it, we try to perfect everything.
Yes.
We're afraid to experience life in a weird way, and that really holds a lot of entrepreneurs back because I mean, I know you know this, in order to
Mm-hmm.
succeed, you need to fail at some point and learn and
Yeah.
then try again and then fail. And oh, okay, I
Yeah.
learned this thing from that failure and keep building, right? But
Yeah.
when we adopt the narrative of others, we live from a space of others, always trying to please and work outside of ourselves, trying to fill that success model, trying to be there, make enough, you know,
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of like the Goldilocks complex is what I call it to my clients. You're trying to find the right bed, the right mindset, the right version of success for you, but you
Mm-hmm.
keep going back and forth to the too big bed and the too small bed, and you're confused why, you're in that situation. So when we adopt the narratives of others, we don't really know who we are or what we're fighting for or, what's driving our actions. Because once we get there, the reason it doesn't feel that satisfying is because we're expecting others, those people that we're kind of trying to fulfill the narratives of, to be like, oh, look at you. But that's not what they're going to do. So the narratives of others, and when we accept them as our own, is a
Mm-hmm.
huge issue. And it very much couples with the whole like lack of awareness around yourself and,
Mhm.
your true values and what actually guides your like inner navigation
Mhm.
system.
Yeah.
So that's one. The other topic, so I'm going to need your help because this is just a fun little game. If
Okay.
you were having physical back pain, would you go to a physical therapist or a social worker?
Probably a physical therapist. In fact, I am actually seeing a physical therapist for my back right now. So,
Look at you,
and not a
right?
social worker.
Outside pain, outside solution. It makes sense.
Right.
If you were struggling with depression, would you go to a physical therapist or a social worker?
Neither, probably. I don't know.
If you had to choose one for support, where would you go?
Probably the social worker.
Right, because ultimately moving your body in a physical way is not going to get rid of your depression, whereas talking about it, you're more likely to improve it.
Mhm.
Point being, outside pain, outside solution, inside pain, depression, inside
Mhm.
solution. But that's not
Mhm.
what we do. We feel a lack of worth. That's an inside problem. So what do? We try to lose weight, we try to make more money, we try to prove outside things to satisfy an internal feeling. And that creates that kind of game of cat and
Yeah.
mouse where we're always chasing. So inside problems and
Totally.
outside solutions do not match. They make us waste our time. They make us suffer. They make us frustrated because we're not actually dealing with the real issue, which is whatever we're not dealing with within ourselves. So like one of my
Yeah.
favorite questions I ask myself and my clients is, if I'll use weight loss as an example, if losing weight was an outside solution to an internal problem, what's the internal problem? For a lot of people, it's, a lack of confidence or a lack of comfortability in their skin.
Mhm.
I can do the same thing with success. Like if this lack of success, you're not there yet, is an outside solution to an internal problem, what's the problem? And
Mhm.
what I hear a lot is, that I'm not being seen, that I don't feel important, that I'm not enough. And these are all the limiting beliefs that drive our mindset and drain us, burn us out unless we do the work to uproot those things.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's not necessarily going to be easy work either, but
Totally.
it's worthwhile work that will make life easier in the long term.
It's the paradigm of suffering, right? It's easy short-term choices lead to hard long-term consequences, and hard short-term
Yes.
choices lead to easy long-term consequences. You can let your mindset, drive you for the next 30, 40, 50, however many
Mhm.
years, or you can do the work for, it took me probably 1 to 3 years to really get through all of my stuff.
Mhm.
Uh, for the next 70, I'll take my odds. It was worth the,
Right,
the
right.
3.
Those are pretty good
That
odds.
it is. And like the whole thing is, is it challenging? Yeah. Does it take effort? But is it worth it? Time and time again. I would never undo my journey or go backwards because I have clarity, I have direction, I have purpose. I feel like the joy and the life energy that, I really want out of life. And I get to
Mhm.
witness that with my clients and talk about rewarding. I mean, seeing someone like break out of that cage and just really be able to like choose themselves and care for others. Again, it's not either
Yes.
or, it's both and is remarkable.
Yeah. That's I feel like a mic drop. Like it's like needed there.
Here's my chapstick.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Oh, I love it. I love it. That's amazing. So, if you had to give people like one word of advice, on where they even start to kind of grasp where they need to go, like what would that be? What would the words of wisdom be?
I would say be brave enough to hear what's going on inside from a space of loving compassion and grant yourself permission to be the authority of your own life.
Fantastic advice.
We tend to like ask permission from others because, that's what we get as kids, but we're adults now. When is it going to be the right time for us to be the choice maker?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Very, very true. So if they want to keep up with you and connect with you, where would they do that?
I am Changed by Challenge everywhere. My website, my Instagram is Changed by Challenge. My Facebook is Changed by Challenge. My Facebook group is Being Healthy. That's the only thing that's not changed by challenge. But ultimately, I believe if it doesn't challenge you, it won't change you. So let's change by challenge.
Love it. One of my favorite books is called The Obstacle is the Way. Same kind of thing. Like, gotta challenge yourself in order to see the change. I love it.
It's going to happen either way. Like, there's no part of life, there's no life that doesn't have any challenges. So why not choose to face the challenges and make them happen for you, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So, and I know that you have a little freebie that we're going to share with those in our email audience. I don't know if you want to talk about that here or not, too. But feel free.
Yes, I am very excited about the freebie. It's the Live Into Your Values handout, where it helps redirect your inner navigation a little bit. So, we all have things that we value, respect, loyalty, trust, etc. But that's a laundry list of, 10, 20, 30 different values. You can't use that to guide you. Right now, a lot of people use the guidance system of people pleasing, whoever they view as the authority, they're following that type of metric. But your success, your life has to be yours. And what the handout does is it has you identify your top 2 values, which it takes a minute to actually get to your 2, then define them, understand the behaviors and what it looks like to really live into them. And then they'll have the tools to start using that to practice living intentionally and being the driver of their mindset in alignment with their values, regardless of if things go right or wrong. If you live aligned with your values, you're morally aligned. Like you're all good.
Yeah, love it, love it. So, again, if you're on the email list, you will get an email with this. Otherwise, Laura, if you want after the show here, we can drop the link in the comments as well for people, so you can just click on it easily from here. Awesome. Yeah. Well, this has been fantastic. Thank you so much, Laura, for being here. And thank you for those that have tuned in. We've had a quiet audience today, but I also noticed that when there are things like this that really make you think about stuff, people tend to be quiet. So talk, guys, ask questions, even after the fact, reach out to Laura. If you're shy and you don't want to put it in the comments, that's okay. Reach out. Yes. So thank you again for being here. Really, really appreciate it. And for those, again, of you in our audience here, if you are working on building or growing a profitable business and you really are focused around making sure that happens for you this year and that will support that remote-based freedom lifestyle that you desire, stop going at it alone. Reach out. Let's chat about how we can help you get there faster with more confidence and in a way that is authentically you. And also just want to quickly mention that, again, we have early bird pricing for our newest course, which is the Accelerate Your Attraction, that is going to be closing this week with the early bird pricing, and then it will be going up. So if you have not enrolled yet, send me a DM and I will send you the link. So enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you again, Laura, for being here, and everybody have a wonderful, wonderful day.
Thank you.
Bye.